I will dive into the property market a little bit further, but there was another thing when I was doing the research. There's a business sale in there somewhere.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And I don't know. I deliberately didn't do too much more research other than that.
Yeah.
It was just it was a thumbnail. I think it's a business sale. What was that related to?
So before we launched the Buyers Co, we actually run an Airbnb management business.
Yep.
So we built that up over, it was super short-lived. We were in it for like 18 months and built it from 0 to 40 managements, which 40 managements doesn't sound huge, but yeah, essentially 40 Airbnb managements is a whole lot of work. And we ended up selling that for just over 700,000 18 months after launching it. So quick in and out. Wow. Built it quick and managed to get out of that sort of well ahead. So that was
unbelievable. So that you're effectively just managing the logistics of bookings, cleanings, repairs, restocking, etc.
All of that jazz, which was one of those things that on like managing one or two, which is what we started off doing, doesn't feel like that much work. But then when it scaled to 40 and you're working 7 days a week, pretty much like on call 24/7, it got to a point that we either needed to employ a whole lot of people and make less money for maybe 2-3 years, or cash out. And that's where we ended up selling out. And the company that we sold to already had about 200 managements here in Cairns. So it made sense for them to fold that business into their business and just basically kept their business very profitable by adding those properties, where we would have went through basically a massive dip to employ people to grow to that next stage. We would have had to go backwards for a long time before we could then go forwards again.
It's not necessarily a business that, it's like I can't really automate cleaning.
No.
There's not a lot of automation there to an extent, so it's, you just need man hours.
The amount of calls that we used to get just at like 9 o'clock at night because someone couldn't work out the internet or like couldn't work out the stove and it's just the isolation switch on the splash back hadn't been turned on, or like people seem to forget their brains when they go on holidays, and that that certainly drove a lot of the workload.
So it was just yourself and
me and the wife, and then we had a team of about 10 housekeepers. So we had a heap of housekeeping staff, and they were brilliant. But the actual, trying to get someone, it was hard to like even staff it, because some nights you'd have nothing going on, and then other nights you'd be working from 6 p.m. to midnight, and to try and like work out how to actually pay that and reward that, it was very hard to sort of work out that staffing arrangement at that scale.
It would need more than 100% of your workforce at times. Probably.
Correct.
Or it's just time.
Or they're sitting around doing nothing for 6 hours because there's nothing going on. And that's the ebbs and flows of it all, I guess.
How do you grow from 2 to 40 properties? I mean, it's how do you get that many properties on the books?
We were fortunate because I had been selling real estate for so long. We had the agent relationships, and as soon as I wasn't competing with those agents, they were pretty happy to send us the business, because most real estate agencies will have a long-term property management business and they'll have a sales business, but very few actually service short-term rentals. It's just a lot of work involved, a whole different skill set. It's got nothing to do with sales or long-term rentals. It's just its own field. So as soon as we had a product that fit them, that they could refer to their clients, that wasn't in competition, we were able to sort of pick up a lot of that workflow. So that sort of, that reputation and those referrals really helped.
And I guess growing a business, when you go from 2 to 40, the logistics and the growth pains that you went through, I guess it just got exponentially worse as you...
We were constantly, we grew from the 0 to 10, and then we hit pause at 10 for a moment in time, got our systems, got our processes, got everything functioning again, and then we'd grow another 10 and same thing, hit that pause, figure it out, and it always was this never-ending learning curve of okay, how do we scale? And that's when we got to that 40, we realised the only way to scale past that point was to put on a whole lot of staff, but then that was going to come at basically destroying our profit margins until we got to maybe 100, 120, then we'd be starting to make similar money again.
Was selling always the plan?
No, never. Nah. We set it up. We set it up in order to be able to sell it one day, and I do think that's probably an important takeaway. Is if you are going to build something, build it on a foundation that you keep all your options open. Yeah. So, and quite often that's not the cheapest way to do things as well. So, like, we could have set it up as like a sole trader, and it would have saved us a heap on accounting. But we ended up setting it up as a proprietary limited company, owned by a trust, owned by another company. And at the time, that felt like complete overkill. But come time to sell, like, it made a huge difference in the taxation and everything, having that flexibility.
Yeah. I've not been in that position before, but my understanding is, you know, a business goes from sole trader, can sometimes even be a hobby.
Yep.
Into okay, this is a bit more serious.
Yeah.
Into, okay, now we've got 20, 30, 40, you know, units, properties, whatever that actual service is.
And then you sort of get stuck to, if you like build stuff out as a sole trader, you end up in this weird position where you like got to sell the assets to the company, and it can get really messy and hard to rewind if you don't get that initial structure right.
Yeah, that is complex, especially if you don't, coming from the property industry, you potentially have a bit more of an understanding of, you know, your trust and company structure. But
it was interesting and like sort of topical right now with, like, you see all the memes of like the 40% going to elbow doing the rounds. But when we went to sell that business, we actually structured the deal to sell the assets of the business and not the actual business itself. So the original deal was we'd shut down the hosting co, which was our Airbnb business.
Yep.
And the company buying it would buy the management rights to the properties we were managing. And that made sense and like it seemed logical. End up speaking to my accountant and he was like, no, do not do it that way. And we're like, oh, why? By selling the shares in the business, we got the capital gains tax discount, which is what everyone's up in arms about at the moment because it's changing. So under the current legislation, current way taxation's done, because we owned the shares in the business for longer than 12 months, we got the 50% capital gains discount, which was fantastic, saved us 50% of our tax bill. And then because it was a small business and classed as an active business, we got a further 50% discount as an active asset discount. So on the sale, we dodged 50% of the tax because it was an active, because we'd owned the shares, where if we'd been a sole trader, we wouldn't have got that.
Yep.
And then we got a further 50% discount on the sale as well because it was an active asset. So essentially the tax payable was basically 25% of the business sale got put on top of our income. So it ended up being like a 10% tax in real terms. Wow. So yeah, there's some crazy incentives there for businesses that are structured right, but those incentives are getting taken away slowly. And that's where I think a lot of those people are up in arms because it has been lucrative to build and sell businesses, but you start removing some of those incentives and that's where all the memes come from.
Yeah.